Hello, here is another car boot find or garage sale, depending on which part of the world you're in. And it's the Hammond Auto Rhythm. This is quite old, it's 1972. Not quite as old as me, but better condition. Anyway, these are long drum machines because they were designed to sit on top of an organ. It's even got a music rest built in as well. And it seems to work fine. It's a little bit noisy. Some of the pots need cleaning up and some of the switch contacts, but other than that it's actually still working. So this is probably going to be quite a short video. Now, Hammond didn't really make this. It was a company called Acetone. Acetone made these and they branded them off in different names. So the thing that's confusing about this as well is it was made by Acetone, but in 1972 Roland, who was Acetone that became Roland, actually released the Roland Rhythm 33, the 55 and the 77 that looks similar to this, also in 1972. So is it Acetone, is it Hammond, is it Roland? I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to open it up and give it a good clean up. It even came with the original foot pedal to start and stop it, which I think is cool. But anyway, I'm going to open it up and sort these wobbly buttons out. There's there's something going a bit loose there. Clean up the pots and the switches and things. Have a look inside. Make sure it's all nice and safe and the usual stuff. And try and get rid of that background noise. There's a sort of a little bit of a waterfall sound creeping up in the background, and it's still there when you switch it off, dying off. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll have a look into that anyway. But yeah, and then when I've tidied it all up, I'll go through the different sounds and do a direct recording into the end of the video. So if anybody wants to hear this properly, as should be, then brilliant. So let's get inside, shall we? Not too sure, but I guess this is an unboxing video now. So we'll remove that and give it a bit of a clean up because there's all paint stuck on it, and try and make it look nice again. So there we have it. There's the insides of the Hammond Auto Rhythm. Very nice. Quite neat actually. Considering it's 43 years old, it's it's not too bad. These are nice little devices. Let me just zoom in. Inside here you've got the tempo control, the volume control, which also doubles up as an on-off switch as well. And it's got a tiny little power supply there, 25 volts at 0.1 amps, and a couple of Nippon Chemicon capacitors. Nippon Chemicon were founded in 1931 by Toshio Sato. Excuse me if I said that wrong. Anyway, they were the first electrolytic capacitors that were produced in Japan, and they're considered one of the best capacitor makers along with Hitachi. Anyway, inside here we've just got a few resistors. I can see one, what I assume is a diode, just underneath there. So it's not a full rectifier in there. So I don't know what's happening there, unless the rest of the rectification is being done on the circuit boards out here. But that's about it really. A couple of lamps, one for your power and one for your tempo. This little device here adjusts the brightness of the tempo light, just in case anybody's got one of these and wondered what that was. Moving on to this board. Every now and again you come across a component in a completely different package that you've never seen before. These say SM on them, and I kind of figured out that they are diodes, but I thought I'd just double check in case I make myself look a bit of a fool. There you go, it's a diode. I've just never seen them in those plastic packages before. On this board here it says FR-1A, which is a model previous to this, but they're obviously using this board in several of the drum machines. So starting on the left here, this is the tempo section, and there's two variable resistors. This one this side is the tempo rate, and this one this side is the tempo width. Now the tempo goes into this section here, and this is actually a 48 count binary counter. That moves along to this section, which in turn feeds all these diodes, which is your diode matrix, which sort of sends all the different pulses out of all these wires directly over to the switches on the front panel. And then all the switches on the front panel have various matrix combinations that then feed it onto the rest of the circuit. So these are all your different selections of the rhythms, and the nice thing about these is you can choose 2 or 3 even, and mix the rhythms up and make quite a lot of combinations of different sounds. Now what happens is, from the diode logic matrix here, all the signals are sent out at various speeds and at various timing points per tempo, and there's a heck of a lot of soldering on all these switches here, which are selecting the different outputs from the logic matrix and then sending that off to the board that makes the actual sounds. I'd hate to change one of these, it would be a nightmare. But it's all a matter of just clever matrixing. Now when the various signals work their way through the switch matrix and off to the sound generating board, 3 of them, the cymbal, the claves and the snare, go through these 3 switches here. And that's so that you can just disconnect them, switch it off. So you can cut out the snare and the cymbal and then bring them back in again if you wish. And yeah, that's literally just disconnecting the signal from getting to the soundboard. Now this little board here is the audio preamplifier, and you have your line in there, your power there, and then this is your high output and this is your low output. And last but not least, this is the tone generator. It will have a noise generator and the gates and things on there, but oh, these things, by the way, these are oscillator coils. Anyway, basically your signal comes in to these, your triggers, and each of these sections will be a hi-hat, a snare, a bass drum sound, and they have little variable resistors on them. So you could mod this drum machine if you wished by either bringing these out to the front or just drilling holes through the woodwork in the top. Because after all, when you put the music rest down, you'd be hiding the holes that you've just drilled. But I don't want to do that. I think that's destroying it. But you know, there's a few great videos out there of people who have modded these old analog drum machines and made them sound really interesting. So there you go. That's a look at the inside of a 1972 vintage analog drum machine, or rhythm machine if you wish. Now this all works, there's nothing for me to fix apart from I'll put a bit of spray contact cleaner into the switches and things here. I've tightened these buttons up here, so that's all nice and solid now. And what these tend to suffer from, especially at 42 years old, is you get the capacitors will start to break down, and you know, very often you have to start replacing caps after about 30 years. But this all seems to work okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll clean up the buttons and then I shall run a direct line into this video, audio line, and I'll just go through the different rhythms so you can hear how this thing sounds. Okay, I've put it all back together now, and I haven't cleaned it up yet, but I'm going to bore you now if you want to carry on listening, and I'll do a bit of a recording of all the different rhythm styles that's on here. So Here goes. So do many people still actually use these old drum machines now?
Not these days, no. The only person I know of still uses them at his gigs is Eddie Ruhier. But he's got the Ace-Tone version. It's labelled as Ace-Tone. But I think they're probably very, very similar. The sound is certainly very similar.
Well, the circuit diagrams are certainly exactly the same. So Jason now, or Organaut, if you want to check him out on YouTube, is going to give us a little demo of this just for the end of the video. So thank you very much, Jay.
Okay, here we go. I'll mix a few of the rhythms.
So there you have it. The Hammond Acetone Roland drum rhythm machine. I hope there's something interesting in there for you, or if you can use any of the samples. And if you like this, please give us a thumbs up, because it does help to get my videos found. And all the best.